A few months ago, we decided to make a cake, and everything didn't go as planned, and the cake smelled wonderful. In fact, it smelled so good that I opened up the oven, and the cake had exploded because I had insisted on putting in too many eggs, and against the advice of one of my helpers. And what happened next was typical of one of our shifts, and that is that one of the volunteers said, let's salvage the cake, and I just located a jar of caramel sauce in the pantry, and I'm going to grab that caramel sauce. And what we did was we drizzled that over the cake, and our Jackson Pollock cake was born, and all was well. And so this is my opening story of the way that I think Stone Soup shifts often are like. That is, according to the old story of Stone Soup, two travelers enter into a village. They are looking for food and shelter, and they're unable to find that. Nobody wants to help them out. And so what they do is they take out a pot, an iron pot. Another one has a stone. They throw that in the pot and put some water in. And the villagers gather around and ask, "What are you cooking?" And they say, "Well, it's stone soup." And they said, "But it would be so much better if it had a little bit of salt." One of the villagers says, "Well, I think I have some salt." And that person goes and runs and gets some salt. They put the salt in the soup. They taste it again. This is tasting very, very delicious. But it would be even better if we had some carrots. And the next thing you know, somebody said, "Well, I think I have some carrots in the cellar." On it went, and by the end of the evening, there was a beautiful pot of soup. All the villagers came around and shared a meal. And the next day, the mysterious travelers went on their way, taking the magic soup stone with them. But what the end of the tale shows is how the community was brought together, because everyone learned to bring something and help out. And this is how our shifts go. Again, it's wonderful to plan a meal. For example, we made corned beef and cabbage on St. Patrick's Day, and we're hoping to make a red, white, and blue dessert for the 4th. So we try to plan as well as we can, but that doesn't always happen. There's a lot that's unplanned. As you can see here, we help each other out. When we're going to the walk-in freezer, we'll say, "I'm going to the walk-in freezer. If I don't come back in a minute or two, please come and find me," or "I'll help you with these fried potatoes." Things often don't go quite as expected, but everybody pitches in, and the meals turn out wonderfully most of the time. Another good example is a few weeks ago, we decided we were going to bake another cake. This time, never any extra eggs. No way. Never, ever again. So we got the cake out, and then we looked in the refrigerator, and there's all this fruit donated from Trader Joe's. And we decided, well, why not make a fruit salad for the dessert? And so we made a beautiful fruit salad for dessert, and our guests were thrilled. Another good example is one of my volunteers recently brought in some fresh chives from her garden, just spontaneously, some chives and their flowers. We made a beautiful salad that night with those fresh chives. So again, it's everybody pitching in, everybody bringing something to the table or to the pot, if you will, and producing something that we feel good about, and we hope that our diners do as well. We know that they do. Another example, a third example, was we found an anonymous donation of this gorgeous wheel of cheese, and we decided, well, that would be fantastic, grated on some roasted potatoes and really make the potatoes extra special. So it's planning on the one hand, but also a lot of spontaneity and how shall I say, improvisation that goes on in the kitchen. We also problem solve. Everybody dreads cutting the brownies because they make a huge mess. And then one of my volunteers a couple of months ago said, well, let's use a pizza cutter for the brownies. That's much, much easier. And actually, it works extremely well. We have a great deal of fun, and we end up solving a lot of problems when we all put our heads together. In 2022, Stone Soup Corvallis had 554 volunteers, and this includes the cooks. We have 7 cooking teams, servers, people who deliver the food to the men's shelter and to Jackson Street. We have very important people who do the cleaning up and the laundry for us as well, and gleaning, meaning picking up donated food. Big shout out again to Trader Joe's for doing that for us. They put in 10,000 hours last year, and we produced 50,000 free, hot, nutritious meals, 365 days a year. Thank you. All are welcome, no questions asked. We have 3 main meal sites: St. Mary's Catholic Church, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays; First Christian Church, Tuesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays; the First Congregationalist Church of Christ, which is the Thursday night meal; and then we also send, as I said, meals to the men's shelter and to Jackson Street Youth Services as well. I also want to stress that our volunteers are a diverse bunch. We are not all 60 plus. We have many volunteers who are young people, and we greatly appreciate their time, particularly fitting in Stone Soup into their work and school schedules. They are amazing. So we have a really wide range of people who help us out in the kitchen. The other thing we do is we welcome volunteers who maybe just want to try it out, who want to step in if I'm short. One of my helpers will say, well, my daughter's in town, she can come by and help us out. Or another says, well, my neighbor would like to come and help out and see what the cooking is all about. Can she come? And yes, of course, and so forth. And so we have a wonderful camaraderie, and we're also very welcoming, and we're very, very proud of that. And anybody can do this, and everybody can find a way to bring something to the meal. We also take a lot of pride in making meals that we want to eat and that we enjoy eating. This crew is the Monday night crew. They are a lot of fun. They have the best playlist, the best music. And so again, we are not just making meals for people that we don't know. We are thinking about our meals in terms of making them for ourselves, our family, our community. And so we really try extremely hard to make them as delicious and as beautiful and as varied as possible. So in the kitchens, Soup from a Stone is made from collaboration, creativity, flexibility, friendship, and trust. We have many other people who help us out, as I mentioned. We have, in addition to servers, we have people who deliver our meals, who pick them up from St. Mary's on Thursdays, and they come and we load the meals into hot boxes, and they deliver them to the men's shelter and bring them over to the First Congregational Church of Christ over on West Hills. So we have lots of opportunities to help. I want to move now to the dining room as well. We have wonderful volunteers doing our serving and preparing the dining rooms for our diners. You can see here we have fresh flowers that a volunteer brings to make the tables that much more special and to make people feel like they're coming into a community space that somebody's thought about. And on the left, you can see, again, there are all different kinds of jobs here to do in the kitchen, including making sure that everybody's got the right utensils. One of the things that we're really, really aware of, as I said, is, and try to respond to, is our diners' comments. And they are left in a book, and we pay a lot of attention to them, both during service as well as after the meal. So I've given you an example of some of the diners' comments that we've gotten. The best soup ever in all my life. They loved the pork as well, and we ran out of rice at the end. They loved the meal. Extra thank you for no mushrooms in the veggie dish. We ran out of soup and salad. Loved the soup, loved the pizza. Some guys without teeth couldn't eat it. Would like to have split pea soup. So again, here you have wonderful examples of the kind of feedback that we get, that we pay attention to, that we listen to, and try to our best to respond to. They love the chicken broccoli. We have one request, that the servers be informed as to all the ingredients, especially milk or sugar in the dishes, so our guests can decide if they can eat the food. And finally, for the diners' comments, good meal. Ken said the chicken was tough, but that's Ken. And then later on, I was so happy about this, because this is our meal. Ken said, the best meal ever. So we get it all. Not everybody likes everything all the time, as those of you who cook for friends and family know. It's, sometimes you just aren't pleasing everybody. But we really pride ourselves on knowing who likes mushrooms, who hates mushrooms, who always asks for hot sauce. We have diners who chronically come late, so we'll set aside a couple of meals for them. And we know who likes extra brown sugar on the oatmeal in the morning, or really, really wants us to save a chocolate donut. We try to be as responsive as we can to our diners. In the dining rooms, Soup from a Stone is made from listening, noticing, reciprocity, dignity, friendship, and trust. And I think the best example of this, and it moves me every time, is when one of the diners will ask us how we're doing. And we'll call out, great meal, thank you so much for what you do, see you next week, we love you guys. Those are the interactions that mean the most to us. And in closing, what I'd like to do is share a few thoughts about how the COVID-19 pandemic affected Stone Soup and what I think the most valuable lesson is from that experience. And that is the closing of the dining rooms and the reopening of the dining rooms once it was safe to do so. And I think that's been the most important and wonderful thing that's happened to Stone Soup in the last year or so, is the reopening of the dining rooms. And I'm going to leave you with two very moving memories of the dining room before COVID and this kind of atmosphere we're trying to create. The first one is a youth symphony orchestra from the high school, which used to come and play music for the Sunday night meals. And the very first time they came to play for the Sunday night meal, they were a little bit apprehensive to be in the dining room, and the lead cook was also a little bit apprehensive about what was going to happen. And the musicians got set up, and the diners came in raucous as usual, sometimes orderly, sometimes less so. And the youth or quartet began to play their music, and the diners and everybody else was spellbound. And everybody stopped and listened to the music. And at the very end of each piece, there would be a rousing round of applause for the musicians. And they stayed after to talk with the diners. And I think, again, that's an example of how both those young people as well as the diners understand that everyone, no matter what their station in life, can benefit from beauty and appreciate beauty and something special like that. Another example is the AmeriCorps volunteers who came to visit and work the kitchens on Saturday mornings. And Corvallis was their last stop, and they came to volunteer for the breakfast shift. And they were welcomed. As I mentioned, we try to welcome all new volunteers. And they spent Saturdays working that shift and grabbing a plate when they were finished and going in and joining the diners and visiting, getting to know them. And it turns out that AmeriCorps volunteers have Sundays free, and they can do anything they want. And many of them decided that what they really wanted to do was come back and work the Sunday evening meal at First Christian. The diners, again, appreciated and wondered, why are these kids coming all this way to feed us? The volunteers were just as moved, I think, as their time and their commitment showed. In closing, I think you'll notice here that I haven't shown you any photographs of the dining rooms, and that's for privacy reasons, and I'm sure that you'll understand that. What I'd like to do is to invite you to come to Stone Soup and we'd like to put you to work in the kitchen or the dining rooms, or just grab a plate and please join us for a meal. Thank you very, very much.